Next question.
That's good.
You go on. I'm all right. Just a minute's privacy.
Would you permit me?
Who are you?
May I?
Know who this is?
Florence Halpern.
Florence.
That was her name, wasn't it?
Flo. She was Flo to everyone for as far back as I can remember.
Well, I go back further than you can remember.
Listen, who are you?
Ernest Johnson. A very old friend.
You are not Jewish.
Is it that obvious? Have I committed a sartorial indiscretion?
It's custom. No flowers at a Jewish funeral.
That's rather sad.
Oh, it's a time of heartbreak. Why pretend otherwise by introducing beauty?
It's a point of view.
Still, she loved flowers.
I'd consider it a great kindness. Mr. Halpern.
Am I late or are you early?
No, you're exactly on time. I was early. What do you have to drink?
Scotch, please.
Ice, water,
Just soda.
scotch and soda, vodka and tonic.
Thank you, gentlemen. Scotch and soda.
It's been longer than I intended, but I couldn't help it. There's the 7 days mourning, and then there was my sons. They meant well, but they kept me busy. They wouldn't leave me alone for a minute. Here, there, this one, that one. They had good intentions, but I'm a physical wreck. Still, I was anxious to see you. You're the mystery man.
No mystery man, I assure you. So, for you, curiosity. For me, perhaps penitence.
Penitence?
More accurately, I should say that I think I'd like to confide in you.
Gentlemen.
How have you been managing since?
Oh, I'm lonely.
Cigarette?
I'd expected... Oh, thank you, I never do. I'd expected it for months, but when it came, it was still a shock. The worst is yet to come, I suppose.
I'm really very sorry. I know how you're feeling. My wife passed away 9 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. You get to the point where you don't really want to keep carrying on much longer, and all the friends and relatives have passed on. You may as well catch up with them. The world's filled with strangers.
Yes. Soon I'll be up to my allotted time span.
Oh, well, I've exceeded mine, but you look in good shape. You look as if you'll go on for a long while yet.
Oh, you make me sound like the human equivalent of a Volvo.
Mr.
Johnson.
Oh, Mr. Johnson. Do you know me?
I know of you.
Well, do I know you?
Do you?
Oh, I haven't got the head for this. Let me ask the question so it'll be simpler. Do I know you?
I thought there was every likelihood toward the end that you would. But if you don't, so be it.
That's an answer?
Mr. Halpern, Florence, your wife and I had a liaison.
Liaison?
Yes, a friendship, a connection.
I know what liaison means, but you're crazy or drunk or... But how long have you been sitting here?
It's the truth. Believe me, we were very good friends.
But Flo's middle name was Loyalty. I'd have bet my life on her.
And you'd have won.
So what are you talking about? Flo was middle-aged.
Not all of her life.
What are you, Mr. Johnson? Have I asked you that before?
What am I?
Yes, what do you do for a living?
Oh, well, I was an accountant, but I've retired. Why?
Oh, I thought maybe you were a doctor or a dentist, someone professional, someone she might have had to make appointments with.
Oh, I assure you, we were professional.
Oh, no, well, that's not it. And she was never in business.
Nevertheless, I met her at her place of work.
Mr. Johnson, you've made a terrible mistake. Thanks for the drink, but you've got the wrong family.
She wasn't quite 20. She operated a sewing machine in a dress factory. I was 21. A dumb little bookkeeper with a large accounting firm. They used to send me out on these small little jobs to keep the accounts in some sort of order. I think you'll appreciate that in those days, when it came to bookkeeping, people tended to be undisciplined. Industrious, inventive, law-abiding in virtually every respect except one, a column of figures. And I, as a young boy, used to make the rounds through the back streets, tenements, sweatshops, singing sewing machines. I can remember it quite clearly. I came in the back door. She was seated at her machine, working on some lace. And suddenly, she stood up. She was a vision. Exquisite. And I said, "I'm here to examine your ledgers."
At 21, you were already a dirty old man, and I don't believe a word of it.
As if it were yesterday.
It's not believable. You're telling me you remember your exact words?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's impossible.
Ask me what I had for dinner last Saturday night, and I couldn't tell you. But I can recall the precise phrase I first uttered to Florence Shingowitz.
Oh, well, you've got the right person. No one could invent a name like that.
There are moments in one's life when one meets someone special or performs something vital, and the occasion stands out in the brain like a beacon. Do you recall the first words you spoke to Florence?
You're sitting in my seat.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. That's what I said to her. You're sitting in my seat.
Oh.
I met her at a relative's, another immigrant in the Bronx. Some function or other, small room, very crowded. I watched her from a corner. For half an hour, I tried to sort out some sort of approach. Then I became desperate. People were beginning to leave, so I pushed my way over to her, and I bent over, and all the clever phrases went out of my head like that. And for a moment, I was paralyzed. So I said the first thing come into my head, you're sitting in my seat. You're right. You think carefully, and it's all there in the memory.
And what did she say?
Oh, I've forgotten. I'm sad to say. But 2 years later, I married her. 6 weeks ago, I buried her. I used to surprise her with flowers. Now I bring her a stone.
A stone?
Yeah. We put a stone on the grave to mark a visit. That's how life goes past. Well, you wanted to look at her ledgers, and I wanted her seat, and now she's under the earth. I don't know what good this reminiscing does us. It amazes me that you can remember that far back and that you never forgot her. She'd have been very flattered. To the day they took her to the hospital, she was proud of her looks. I hate you. Look at me. I'm sorry. Let me refresh your glass. A vodka and tonic and a scotch and soda. Ice in the vodka. Right?
Mr. Halpern,
Yeah.
I think you misunderstand.
Misunderstand?
Looking at the ledgers was just the beginning.
Beginning?
We went out together for 2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, why are you doing this to me? I'm not suffering enough.
Please forgive me, but I consider my loss almost equal to your own.
Yes, but what you're saying can't be.
Why not?
Why not? Why, look at you. You're a man of distinction, class. Anybody can see that. And you're trying to tell me that you went out with Flo Shingowitz 45 years ago? Well, I think you should see a doctor.
Mr. Halpern, 45 years ago, I was just a junior pen pusher from a very humble home on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah, but even so, you come from a different background.
You were born in England, weren't you?
Yeah, London.
Well, then you should know that style, class, outward appearance, it's 75% masquerade. It's a learned process.
The other 25?
Money.
Yeah, but even so, what had you got in common?
We developed interest. After all, we were very, very taken with one another.
Taken with one another?
We were very fond of each other.
Hey, wait a minute. How far did this fond business go?
That's a very intimate question.
Intimate, is it? How intimate?
I decline to answer.
You'll decline nothing.
Mr. Halpern, I think you should calm down. Neither of us are young men. Besides, it was nearly a half a century ago.
I'm asking you, what was the relationship between you and my wife? You call yourself a gentleman, you should answer.
On the contrary, gentlemen may not answer. In any case, she wasn't your wife at the time.
Well, that has nothing to do with it. In those days, a woman had certain standards, certain obligations. Today, they're in and out of bed like trains in a rush hour.
Florence was 24 when she married. Hardly a child bride. What did you expect?
I didn't expect second-hand goods. What's more important is, why are you telling me all this? It was over 40 years ago. Why rake up the past? Why bother?
I promised.
You promised too.
Florence.
Florence? When?
September.
September when? Which September? September 40 years ago.
You have a propensity, if I may say so, for fixing your mind on the least likely of several alternatives. It was last September. I went to see her in the hospital.
Oh, you went to visit. Well, that was kind after so many years.
I think you're about to grab the wrong end of the stick again. Let me get you another drink.
No, let me. Young man, would you do a kindness to an old bag of bones? Would you please fetch one vodka and tonic with ice in it and one scotch and soda?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Vodka and tonic on the rocks.
You shouldn't
Scotch and soda.
denigrate yourself like that. It's bad for morale.
Morale. Where am I going?
Nevertheless.
So, you saw her in September. It's a wonder you recognised her after so many years.
Either you're being deliberately obtuse because you're unwilling to accept an unpalatable fact, or your innocence is genuine. On the other hand, you may just be trying to make it difficult for me.
Gentlemen?
And I wouldn't blame you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
For over 40 years, Florence and I had a platonic friendship. We met regularly.
I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm having this conversation. At my time of life, it's
If this is causing you distress,
distress. I'm not distressed, I'm angry. I'm so bloody angry, I'm lost for words. 20, 30 years ago, I'd have broken every bone in your body. You got your nerve, you know that. You bring me here, and you sit there, as cool as a cucumber, and you tell me you were my wife's lover before she even met me, and that this went on for 40 years. You knew her longer than I did, you know that? If Flo was here now, I'd murder her. Where were you when we celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary, eh? You should have been the guest of honour. You should have sat at the head table between us. You should have made the speech, proposed the toast, led her off with the anniversary waltz. You're a snake, you know that, a dirty snake. You'll be telling me next my children aren't my own.
you're being utterly ridiculous. She wouldn't allow me to touch her. She was absolutely faithful. Now and then, she allowed me to kiss her on the cheek. Please believe that.
Well, how often did these meetings take place?
Thrice a year,
Thrice?
3 times.
I know what thrice means. I meant, was that all? Not exactly seething with impatient passion.
It had nothing to do with passion. It was a matter of friendship and mutual interests and respect. I'm trying to explain that.
From the beginning, for both of you?
For me, no. But I was given to understand it was either that or nothing.
Well, if it was all so innocent, how was it she never told me?
I think in the beginning she was afraid to. She probably thought you'd forbid.
Oh, I would have.
See, she was right. But later I think she felt she was entering her own small world. Her conscience was clear. Her conduct, from your point of view, was beyond reproach. I just think she found another dimension, and she wanted to enjoy it without having to explain it.
She only let you kiss her cheek, eh?
Once she met you, I was completely overshadowed.
Ooh, I overshadowed you. Who would believe it? Can't even tackle a crusty roll now.
Age. The only enemy with whom man can never establish a peace treaty.
What are you, a philosopher?
These days, I find it the least exhausting of activities.
Look, if you were so fond of one another, why didn't you marry?
Well, I was Catholic. My parents objected. So did hers.
You're a widower now.
Yes.
Family?
Oh, I have 2 daughters. They're living in California.
Ever see them?
I went out there a little while ago to see them. I stayed for 4 months. They wanted me to stay, but I'm used to it here. Young people don't understand the emotions that tie you to a place. The familiarity, the habits, the memories. So now I settle for photographs.
It's hard to believe. You put so much into them. When they're babies, their whimpers twist your stomach. You suffer when they're ill. You worry and scrimp, save and plan and encourage. And a few years later, you're lucky if you get a card for Rosh Hashanah.
Everything is transitory. No state is constant, not human beings, not countries, not the world itself. Everything changes.
Did your wife know about you and Flo?
Not to begin with. I had nothing to hide, but she wouldn't understand. People don't. They think there must be something going on. They say it's impossible for a man and a woman to have a simple friendship. Well, that's nonsense. I felt I had to lie, although I wasn't being unfaithful. Eventually, the lying and the deception started to play on my mind. And this innocent little secret, this harmless subterfuge, grew out of all proportion. And then I realized it wasn't seeing Florence that was the problem. It was having to lie about it. And I didn't think I needed to. So I told Diana. That was her name.
What was the reaction?
She was very displeased.
I'm not surprised.
It was extremely unpleasant for a while. I lived under all sorts of threats.
Ah, good old Diana.
So I returned to lying. I told her I'd never see Florence again, and I swore to it. Then she was satisfied. It's been my experience you can make people very happy by feeding them the sort of information they want to hear.
Well, all right. If there was no hanky-panky, what'd you talk about?
All sorts of things. Where we had been, holiday plans. We swapped children's ailments and remedies and scholastic achievements. First children, then grandchildren. We argued over politics.
Politics? You talked about politics with Flo?
Certainly.
Oh, that's hard to believe.
Why?
The only politics she was interested in was who sat next to who at a bar mitzvah, or whether such and such a person was eligible to sit at the top table. I tell you, she had no head for real politics.
What you mean is she had no head for it with you. Perhaps you bullied her.
Did she say that?
No.
Well, why the hell did you say it?
I was surmising.
What you mean is that you talked about politics and she listened.
I stand by my statement. She had a point of view. Highly subjective, it's true. Pragmatic, rather conservative.
What do you mean, subjective, pragmatic, conservative? She wouldn't have known what those words meant. She was just a housewife.
My dear Mr. Halpern, not so loud. Just a housewife are dangerous words these days.
Very funny. But I'm telling you, she had no understanding of worldly affairs. She was domesticated. A wonderful woman, marvelous mother. May she rest in peace. But politics, don't make me split a gut.
What you're referring to is formal knowledge. I admit Florence didn't have a complete education, but she had intuition, common sense. She had an accurate gut feeling about people. She knew what was right and what was wrong, and she wasn't afraid to say so.
You got your nerve describing my own wife to me, you know that? I'm tired of arguing with you. I shouldn't be here. The whole thing's an insult. She had no right to do what she did, and I'll never forgive her. As for you, 20 years ago, you'd have felt my fist in your face.
You asked me what we talked about, and I told you. If I thought it was going to make you jealous...
Jealous? Who's jealous? Politics? My arse.
Anything you say. Have another drink.
No. No. I won't have another drink with you. You're trying to turn this into a social occasion.
No.
Well, she never discussed politics with me. Never.
Perhaps you never encouraged her.
It's not a question of encouragement. I'm saying she put on her best side for you.
I accept that.
Oh, you do?
Of course. Florence was incapable of any kind of deceit. She was her natural self with me because I didn't see her every day. Oh, you don't. That's quite different from being with one person all the time. No matter how much you may love that one person, conversation tends to become more mundane and commonplace. And it requires a great deal of effort to widen the spectrum. Familiarity doesn't breed contempt. Familiarity breeds casualness and short-sightedness.
You're full of fancy words and fancy ideas, you know that. You're a smart aleck. You got an answer for everything. It all fits into place with you, or so you think. You're so sharp you cut yourself, and I'll tell you something else. I don't know what Flo could ever have seen in you. You're just a pompous putz.
I'm not used to being spoken to in that manner. If you were 10 years younger, I'd wipe up the floor with you.
You and whose army of senior citizens?
Sit down before you break your back. I'm not going to brawl with you, verbally or otherwise. That's not my purpose.
Had no right to do this. You should have let it lie. You shouldn't have come to that funeral. What was. What's the point of dragging it all up again? You're just invading my privacy. It was bad enough you did it before without my knowing it. Have you any idea how I feel? I thought I'd led a normal life. Good times, bad times, here, there, like everyone else. Now I learn I've been like naked on exhibition. That's about the most bloody awful thing that happened to a person.
We never talked about you in intimate terms. Never.
Well, you know what? I didn't say, that's for sure. If that isn't intimate, I don't know what is. I wonder what else you learnt about me. Let me ask you. Did you discuss politics with your wife?
No.
Why not?
For the same reason you didn't.
I resent it. I resent all of it. Why did she have to do it? I was a good husband. I was a good provider. Considerate. Why did she have to go off thrice a year with you?
I was just a friend, Mr. Halpern. Just a friend. Can't you accept that?
But you loved her. That's not friendship.
I loved her a long time ago. The relationship evolved. It became the warm embers of a once great blaze.
Oh, God, he's here with his words again.
I know you had a good marriage. Florence often said so.
She did?
Yes.
You asked her?
Well, the subject came up from time to time.
Because we had our rough patches, what marriage doesn't?
Absolutely.
So you must have questioned her.
Not really.
You know what I think? I think when Flo and I was going through our unsettled periods, you was filling her ears, trying to get her to go away with you. Am I right?
In the early years, I did offer the alternative.
I thought so. You're a sneak. I don't like you, you know that? I don't like you at all.
Well, that's a pity, because I like you. I've grown very fond of you. The rancor and the bitterness disappeared years ago. You know, over the years, I like to think that in some small way, I contributed to your happiness.
You contributed to my happiness, this I gotta hear.
You see, Mr. Halpern, there are marriage guidance counselors and priests and rabbis and father confessors and psychiatrists because people need to communicate. It's a very fundamental need. We require escape valves. A man has his drink in the local bar on the way home from work. A woman, a cup of coffee with a neighbor or a friend. No matter how solid a relationship, no one person can provide all the needs of another human being. Can you accept that?
Yes, I can accept it, but you're a self-righteous prig. You think because you didn't sleep with her, you're innocent. The sex is nothing. What is it? Some sort of membrane, a few moments of pleasure, all right. But secrecy is 24 hours a day. Secrecy, that's the cancer.
Our relationship was not secretive. It was confidential. And in any case, it was up to Florence whether she chose to tell you or not.
You're wrong, and you're trying to ice the cake. Flo confided in you. The pair of you talked about me behind my back. How do you think I feel?
Whenever we spoke of you, it was with respect.
Respect my arse. What you did was underhanded. If she was here now, I'd give her a piece of my mind. What else did you talk about? What confidences did she disclose?
No confidences.
So what else did you talk about?
It's hard to say. Over the years, so many things. Art, literature, opera.
Art, literature, opera, you crazy? Hey, are you making fun of me?
These are universal topics. What can you possibly have against them?
Art, Flo's idea of art was Bugs Bunny. Literature, she never got beyond the front page of the daily paper. Opera, she never went. It took her 3 years to learn the tune of the national anthem. You're living in a dream world.
I know that you had no great love for opera. Florence mentioned it. But why exaggerate? Florence went to the occasional matinee. She must have told you.
All right, she went to the odd matinee.
Well, did you ever question her? Did you ever ask her what she thought? Whether she'd enjoyed herself?
Well, of course I asked. Just didn't go into details, that's all.
Well, I did.
You make it sound so high-minded, so exceptional. Art, literature, opera. These things aren't so important. Bread on the table, roof over your head, that's important.
I wouldn't have said they were unimportant. But I take your point. I existed only on the periphery of Florence's life.
It's like we were talking about two different women.
We're talking about the same woman. But like all of us, with varied needs, tastes, responses, and they were not that predictable from one day to another.
Oh, you can say that again. She could be very moody. Very moody. Do you know about that?
I knew about it, but I wasn't in the firing line. If she wasn't feeling up to it, she would simply postpone the meeting. That happened a lot in recent years.
She took care to see that you only saw her at her best.
Oh, yes. She was always very well turned out. A credit to you.
Sometimes she wouldn't dress for the whole day. Did you know that?
No, you surprised me.
You were under the impression she jumped out of bed at 7 in the morning and prepared breakfast like they do in the television commercials. Forget it. Took her hours to wake up. Hours. As far as she was concerned, mornings were cancelled. Before high noon was not her best time. She liked to sleep late. Every morning of our married life, I took her a cup of coffee in bed. Without that, she wouldn't move. She wouldn't speak. She wasn't human. Every morning, a cup of coffee, and then I waited half an hour, and then another cup of coffee, and 2 slices of toast wrapped in a napkin, well buttered. Did she tell you that?
Not precisely. That would have come under the heading of being well treated, which she always maintained she was.
You can say that again. I looked after her. She needed a hat, coat, pair of gloves. She got them. She tell you that?
Your generosity was a byword, Mr. Halpern. On the other hand, she fought for 5 years for a downstairs bathroom.
What do you know about that?
You've no idea of how the locating and then the decorating of that room dominated our conversation. If it's any consolation to you, it took precedence over art, literature, opera, and world conflict.
So you knew about the bathroom?
The bathroom? The size of the wash basin, the color of the tiles, the shade of the paint. the difficulty with the authorities over the waste pipe, I was with you in spirit all the way. I was on your side. I told Florence time after time, Joe is right. But she was stubborn.
I didn't want a thing in the first place.
That I know.
So you know what happened with the builder?
A nasty business.
Yeah, was I right?
Absolutely. And I advised Florence you deserved her full support. Right up to the Supreme Court.
You did?
Certainly.
I'm not so sure I like the idea. Makes me feel uncomfortable. There's something wrong.
Without my invisible support, you'd have encountered a great deal more friction and argument. And that wasn't the only occasion when...
You know what? Your support irks me. You were meddling. Who asked you to stick your nose in?
I wasn't sticking my nose in. I was asked my opinion, and I was entirely objective.
She had no right to gossip with you about what was going on in our home. All that advising and planning and plotting.
I did not plot against you. On the contrary. Why are you being so aggressive?
I should have been free to manage my own affairs. Who needed you on the sidelines with your smooth talk and smart aleck advice? She was my wife. You should have left her alone. It's just beginning to hit me. All these years I was going along thinking I was somebody, respectable and respected, secure. I had a certain status in the community, though I say it myself. I thought I was a master in my own home. Now I find it wasn't like that at all. Everything's crashing around me. A lifetime's achievements. It was a wicked thing to do. You, I've got nothing to say to. But Flo, how could she live with her guilt?
What guilt? She had nothing to be guilty about.
If you don't think so, it just shows how twisted you are. Now I'm thinking about it, I can see certain attitudes. Certain things are now falling into place. Certain things she said.
Mr. Halpern, you really are getting carried away. Are you seriously suggesting it's morally wrong to chat over commonplace, everyday trivia of domestic life? That's utter...
Yes, because you kept it secret.
Oh, are adults supposed to repeat every idle item of information?
You met in secret. You're a sneak, and she was a sneak. Doesn't matter what you talked about.
And you're telling me that I'm living in a dream world. Do you really suppose married couples exchange confidences solely with their partners? What nonsense. And how dull. Don't you have any friends?
Stacks of them.
Well, there you are. Don't you confide in them?
Men friends.
You never found occasion to talk something over with a member of the opposite sex?
No.
You never shared a confidence with a lady?
Who are you accusing?
I'm not accusing anyone. I'm simply trying to illustrate.
Because you're in no position to make accusations, you know that? You've got a lot to answer for.
You're very defensive. Why?
None of your business.
So, you've never had a little intimate chat with a lady?
I'm saying nothing.
You talked only to men.
You heard me. I'm saying nothing.
There was never a time in your life when you felt you had to confide in a woman on a totally innocent level.
You've got no right to question me. No right at all, after what you did. 40 years of prying, of meddling and interference.
I'm trying to explain how normal this is. And the only aspect of it that requires apology is the clandestine nature of our meetings. But if you pause for a moment and look back...
I don't have to think back. And you're the last person in the world to tell me what is normal behavior. Criticism I can take, but not from you. You're a smooth-tongued confidence trickster, and you have no business making accusations. Don't think I don't know why you're questioning me. I'm not a fool. You've treated me like an idiot for 40 years, gossiping behind my back, turning her against me, and I don't know what else. I can see certain things now. I've got the perspective.
We never took you for a fool. I always thought you were a better man than I. After all, you won her. I labored with a dreadful inferiority complex for quite some time after that. And as for gossiping, we did not gossip about you. What was there to gossip about?
Never mind. I'm saying nothing.
What did you do, Mr. Halpern, that makes you so ashamed? So abrasive?
Ashamed? You've got your nerve. You know that. You don't think I'm justified in being abrasive?
A few moments ago, you said I was accusing you. What did you mean by that?
I don't have to stay here and talk to you. I could leave.
You could, but I hope you don't.
Because I know what the truth is. The truth is you loved her as a young man and you carried on loving her right up to the day she died.
My dear Mr. Halpern.
Don't dear Mr. Halpern me. Why else would you see her year after year? Why else would you go to the funeral? Why else would you bring me here just to torture me? May have been platonic in the physical sense, but in the heart, the love was always there. That's the truth, isn't it? And for her,
we each had a small corner. Just a small corner.
I'll need another drink.
Here, let me get
I'll be quiet. I'm sick of the sound of your voice. Same again.
Very good, sir.
Now wait. Forget it.
As you say, sir.
I'll say we go get something to eat.
I'll take care of the check.
Oh, come on.
Thank you, madam.
Sir.
Table for two?
For two, sir. Just 1 second. I'll check. Come this way, gentlemen.
Oh, never mind all the talk about the art and the smart and where we put the toilet. I want to know what discussions you and Flo had about me.
We had no discussions. I'd inquire about your health. Florence would ask after Diana's. Of course, she never knew her, never met her, but just out of politeness.
She never come to you with tales, complaints.
What sort of tales?
That's what I'm asking you.
Let me think. She would sometimes tell me about the problems of your business. General things, nothing out of the ordinary. We kept our partners in the background. I suppose that was deliberate.
What problems of business? Flo wasn't interested in my business.
I don't think you need blame her for that. Making cardboard boxes is not the subject that would interest many women, nor, if I may say so, many men either. Your wife thought very highly of you. She had great respect for you. Not that she regarded you as a saint, but she would often remark how kind you were. Spontaneous, sociable, warm, considerate. At one time or another, she used all those words. She used to say you had a hasty temper, but that it blew over quickly like a summer storm. Joe had another one of his summer storms the other day, she used to say. I fancy she regarded your outburst with a great deal of affection. And that would be the extent of it. No more than that. No further information, no explanation, except on topics like toilets. Florence always regarded herself as being very lucky in having married you.
She said that?
Oh, often.
All through the years?
Oh, yes. All down the years. And I wanted to know. I had my little antenna up because, you see, at the back of my mind, I was always waiting in the wings, ready to perform in the center of the stage if the principal should drop out. But you never did.
Ready to order now, gentlemen.
I'll just have coffee.
Just coffee.
Yeah, me too. 2 coffee.
Thank you, sir.
This harmonious marriage you was tuned into, it never varied.
Not that I was aware of.
But there wasn't a period when she came to you with troubles?
I think you're searching for something. What sort of period? When?
Never mind.
I can't answer your questions unless you answer mine.
I'm going back 20, maybe 25 years.
25 years ago. What happened then?
I'm saying nothing.
This concerned Florence, and I demand to know.
Demand all you like.
I absolutely insist.
You insist, but a gentleman must keep his lips sealed. I'm saying nothing.
This had something to do with Florence, and I think that nearly half a century gives me every right.
Right? You have no rights. You were a ghost.
A ghost? I was her friend, a true, honest, reliable friend. I asked nothing from her. I wanted nothing from her, except her presence. And if you did something that slightly tarnishes her memory, I want to know.
You really want to know? All right, I'll tell you. You think you and Florence were the only people that fooled around? You got a surprise coming. 25 years ago, I had a girlfriend.
What?
Yeah. I know what the pair of you thought, Joe Halpern, sweating his guts out in a warehouse, everybody's patsy. Well, I also had my fun. I had my secret meetings.
What?
We are not so smart, Alecky, now, are we? Any number can play your game. You better close your mouth. Someone will come and put a coin in and swing your arm.
Are you saying that you were... unfaithful?
You think I've been a... shriveled up old man all my life? I had shoulders out to here. I was virile, strong. Working in a warehouse has its compensations, believe me.
Are you actually telling me you had an affair? A sexual involvement?
That's what I'm telling you.
With whom?
With a woman, that's with whom.
Who was she?
Who do you mind?
I demand to know.
What?
Oh, how dare you?
How dare I? Look who's talking.
Who was she?
She worked for me in the office.
A secretary. Oh, that old story? What was her name?
Name?
Yes, her name.
What difference does it make?
I want to know.
Margaret Atkinson.
Was she married?
Who can remember? Thank you.
Thank you.
Was she married? Answer me.
Separated.
How old was she? What did she look like?
Who the hell do you think you're questioning?
How long did this sordid episode last?
Not as long as you carried on, but long enough.
How long?
4 years.
4 years?
And sometimes we did it thrice a week.
Where?
What?
Where?
In the warehouse. On folded cardboard boxes.
On cardboard boxes? You two-faced bastard.
Oh, we're not quite so composed now, are we?
Did you care for her? How serious was it?
She answered a need. That's something you'll understand.
How could you possibly cheat on Florence?
As far as cheating's concerned, my wife had the edge on me, as you'll confirm.
You done one. And you called me a sneak. I'll bet there was more than one. What's that?
I'm answering no more questions.
How could you be unfaithful to Florence? It's outrageous. She idolized you, you hypocritical bastard.
Now, you should take it easy. You're not a young man. You're not even a middle-aged man. You get too excited and you'll have a heart attack. Now, how's that going to look on the death certificate? Heart attack caused jealousy at your age. Why, it's embarrassing. What will your daughters think?
I ought to kick you right in the ass.
You try it and I'll twist your foot off.
Now, I'm going to have to ask you two gentlemen to lower your voices. You're disturbing the other customers.
He apologizes. Give me the check.
Yeah, you give him the check. You.
I was never so humiliated.
You humiliated me for more than 40 years.
Well, it wasn't intentional. It's the way you chose to interpret it.
I know what I feel.
And I know how honest Florence was. She was pure. It's painful for me to think that you behaved in the way that you did.
You only saw her in one way, in the best possible circumstances. She come and sat in your spotlight like an actress, all dressed up, made up for the part, hair done, center of attention. But she had her faults, believe you me. You know, when she thought I'd gone out, she used
Don't tell me. I don't want to hear it.
No, I don't suppose you do.
Did you ever contemplate leaving her?
No. When it come right down to it, no. You were her confidant, her confessor. Did she ever suspect?
If she did, she said nothing to me.
Well, what she didn't know didn't hurt her, did it?
No. That's a big relief.
Where did you two used to meet?
In a restaurant.
Different restaurants or the same one?
For the last 23 years, the same one.
Where?
No, I wouldn't want to say.
Don't you think the time for secrets is over? The years are running out.
Sorrento's. Just off the park. We got to know the manager well, and he would keep a table for us in the corner by the window. It got so we never ordered from the menu. He would suggest something, and we'd leave it to him. It saved making decisions. Will you go there? To Sorrento's? To see where we met?
I might.
You and I, we should meet again.
Why?
And we both love the same woman. You are my link to her, as I am yours. Next Tuesday, at 1.
Was Tuesdays, was it?
Invariably.
Gentlemen.
I've got it.
Don't think I've forgiven you. May as well know that.
I'll never forgive you.
Of course, you better make it more than thrice a year. Who knows what will happen from one week to the next? overseer. We wait.
A boy, a girl, and a galaxy far, far away. George Lucas' timeless masterpiece, Star Wars. Next.
If the news you've been watching leaves you flat, why follow the crowd? Get up, get down, and take the lead to the 8th edition of Not Necessarily the News. From early morning to late at night, from the far reaches of space to earthly delights, it's the program that puts you on the front lines of comedy. So if you're hungry for laughs,
go right on eating, and I'll talk over you.
watch Not Necessarily the News.
Tomorrow on HBO.
There's more to growing up than fast times and rock and roll.
I think her name is Karen.
Karen what?
I don't know. She just moved here about a week ago.
She's pregnant. You know it. What's it got to do with you, man?
No, you've been a true friend. I can't think of anyone who would have done what you've done for me.
Sometimes you pay the price of being the last American virgin. Tomorrow on HBO.
Old rivalries erupt with a deafening roar as football's hungry rookies and scarred veterans charge on field, eager to gain enough downfield yardage for a touchdown sprint. Follow the explosive victories and shattered gambles of the 1983 Super Bowl surge as Len Dawson and Nick Bonaconti map the season's changing tides. Reserve an HBO seat as Inside the NFL kicks off its 7th season.
If you want to have freedom, you got to go where the freedom is, don't you? You're going to go to waste in Portland. Come to New York.
It was a love that survived an obsession.
Jack, you said you'd be back Tuesday.
What difference does it make? What do you think I've been doing?
Jack dreams that he can hustle the American working man, whose one dream is to be rich enough not to have to work, into a revolution led by his party.
It was a love that survived temptation.
If you were mine, I wouldn't share you with anybody or anything.
Is the Socialist Party prepared to take a position on the draft or not?
I'd rather be with a fighter who wants to change the world than a critic who wants to mourn it.
Well, the place to be now is Russia.
You don't have to tell me what's happening in Russia. I read the papers.
Well, come with me.
It was a love that survived a revolution.
Revolution is dissent. Always. You don't rewrite what I write.
Warren Beatty, Jack Nicholson, Diane Keaton. Reds, Thursday on HBO.
Presenting everything you've always wanted to do in high school. With everyone you've always wanted to do it with.
Hey, bud.
Let's party.
They're the students of Ridgemont High. Brad Hamilton, fast food king.
I shall serve no fries before their time.
Mike Damone, the lover.
Kiss me. You won't regret it.
Mark Ratner, the romantic.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Go up to this strange girl in my biology class and say, hello, I'd like you to take your clothes off and jump on me? I would.
Linda Barrett, not exactly the girl next door.
Awesome! Totally awesome!
And Jeff serves up Spicoli.
Order the double cheese and sausage.
They're all part of the hot times, the high times, the fast times at Ridgemont High. Saturday on HBO.
You're watching HBO, America's leading pay TV network.